What's up, gamers? It's Devil Chomps. So I've been making Live2D models for about a year now, and I've noticed I've never really explained my process, or recorded it. So I decided to whip up a quick VTuber model of one of my OCs, Aries, to show you how I make one. And also, this is kind of a video to give a little bit of a backstory on my character and my persona, since I haven't really done that before. So have fun with that. And to make this all the more difficult on myself, all of this process is being made in about a week's time. So, yippee! Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and let's get into this. So first, I wanted a slight change to Aries' original design. The history of the design was that I wanted to sell him as an adopt, and no one really bought him, so I decided to keep him for myself, since the colors I chose kind of spoke to me. I'm usually very terrible at color theory, so I usually go to Coolers for inspiration on all of my adopts and their colors. Not sponsored. His design was intended to be more like dreamlike, kind of like the sheep you count when falling asleep. Hence his wool, clouds, and the fact that they have stars in them. However, puffy, see-through clouds kind of is very hard to translate without it looking like weird or wrong or fake. So I kind of scrapped the clouds for fluffy dreads, that way it'd still keep on theme. He also is an angel, so I wanted to give him some big-ass wings. I never really rigged feathered wings before, so it's definitely going to be a learning experience once we get into Live2D. I had a tough time figuring out his clothes, so I put them aside to work on his wings. Now you may notice the change in canvas size. Don't worry, it's actually just sideways. The reason why I did this is to keep the size and resolution of the wings high, so when I shrink or move them later, Fire Alpaca, the art program I'm using, won't ruin the resolution too much. It also helps with getting very intimate in the details. I had never rendered wings the way I'm going to here. I had rendered wings before, like I did in this piece of Aries, but as you can see, I barely bothered painting in the feathers individually, as I wasn't really sure how to. Here I kind of thought how the feathers could be slightly bent in half, so I rendered them where the light shines on the bottom, and I think it turned out fine. The feathers took a really long time, longer than I want to admit, so instead I'll just explain a little bit about his character. So his entire persona, at least from before he fell from angelhood, is very serious and articulate. He's a man who speaks with a lot of purpose. He's trained in every weapon, from spears to nunchucks, to be ready for absolutely everything. Little did they know, they didn't prepare him for sex. Essentially, heaven created him from the storm clouds of a hurricane that swept through Europe. They believed the wrath of the storm would basically make him an unstoppable force in hunting down demons and devils. So my persona, Kai, was born from a rural family in hell. However, he was born powerless because his mother was immortal. His father really didn't like it that much and reminded him of that fact all throughout his childhood. When he was around a teenager, he basically said, "Screw this," and ran away from home, clawing and digging his way up to the mortal world. He wound up in the middle of this really old, ancient temple in the middle of nowhere, and he started hearing whispers. The whispers beckoned him and promised him great power. He followed it until Azeroth appeared. He's like a really big, buff dragon skull eyeball thingy. Azeroth explained he is trapped in the temple and needs a body to escape, and offers Kai a deal, promising him godlike power, and in exchange, Kai becomes a vessel for Azeroth to leave and feed on souls. Kai, being the very stupid teenager he was basically like, fuck yeah, sign me up, without really considering what he was getting into. Little did he know being a vessel means your souls fuse together, creating an almost symbiotic relationship between host and possessor. Now, Azeroth was locked in that temple for a very good reason. He can eat souls, including the souls of gods, which years down the line is when Ares is mature enough to come down and strike Kai down. Short story long, it doesn't really go over well, and Kai's high charisma stat charms Ares into sparing Kai's life, which leads Ares to fall and be stuck in the mortal world with Kai. And they were very much more than roommates afterwards. Anyway, back to the model. So I forgot to render the start of making the eyes, but I was really struggling to make his eyes interesting and not flat. I usually don't put much rendering into eyes in my art, and I wanted to get out of my comfort zone for this one. Turns out it's really difficult to do when your character's irises are white. I tried a lot of things, making them look more realistic, which ended up making him look off. So I played around with art styles and kind of mashed a bunch of anime styles together to get the eyes here. I later moved to rendering the dreads. I accidentally pressed stop recording when I was almost done, so you don't get to see me render the back of his hair, but needless to say, it took a while. I'm also cleaning up some layers and naming them as I go, so it's easier to split them into left and rights later. Here I'm moving on to rendering head and face. Not a lot of people do this for the furry VTuber models, but it's much preferred to separate the markings from the base mesh like the face or muzzle. That way it's easier to give off the illusion of 3D effect once the model turns their head. Another thing furry models and riggers do is essentially make a tube shape for the muzzle and rig the mouth as you would a human's mouth on the top. To me, it looks very awkward when the model turns their head because it looks like a seahorse. And unless your character is actually a seahorse, they look very silly and stiff. So this method isn't perfect, and frankly, you could still do the tube method, it's up to you. But the method I'm using separates the muzzle and jaw into 2 separate pieces to make the model look more expressive and gives the illusion of a hinged jaw, as you can see on my own model. To be fair, I did this rig like a year ago or so it's not as wide as I wanted, but it still gets the jobs done. The horns I'm very confident I'm gonna have to go back and forth on, as I've never rigged curled horns like this before. Kai's horns are kinda in a lightning shape from front to back, so I can cheese it how I want it to look in just 2 layers. Ares' horns, however, they curl in an inward circle, are basically clear glass that hold mist and have jewelry on them. So I'm basically winging it, hoping the rigging process will go smooth. The rest of the body is pretty straightforward in comparison to the rest of the VTuber models out there. Went very basic on his clothes, overalls, and a t-shirt since he's a sheep. Lore-wise, he kind of mimics how Kai dresses, loads of spikes, leather jackets, and tight-ass skinny jeans, but I've already been through that hell once, and I'm not doing it again. Plus, this isn't a model I really see myself using, it's really just for video purposes.
Lastly, I'm splitting all of the layers into their respective lefts and rights to make it easier for rigging. Not including the sketch layers or background, this model ended up being around 113 layers and 16 hours of work. Heya's current model, including his toggles, outfits, and future summoning animations, total over 500 art layers and about 80 hours plus rendering and rigging him. So the next time you ask, why are VTubers so expensive? Their labors of love handcrafted from shrimp-back artists like me. This is all for part 1. Part 2 is going to be all about rigging, so stay tuned on that. Thanks!